Hi everybody, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this on a video or whatever it is, and I never go online. But there's a lot of things that have been troubling me lately, and I think I'd like to express myself as much as I can about things that are going on in this country. So this is my first attempt. Now, I am obviously an anarchist, and I've been one for 40 years, but I'm not going to give you a whole load of anarchist gobbledygook. I'm primarily a white working class geezer from London, and I've been an anarchist for about 40 years, and I've never lived anywhere else but London, but I have travelled extensively throughout the world. So I've got some experience of life. But I'd just like to talk about ordinary things that affect ordinary people in ordinary language, right? The language that I talk and the language that most people I know talk. And if there are a few words you can't understand, it won't be because they're intellectual, it'll be because they're cockney. You know what I mean? So first thing I'd like to talk about, it's just something I was talking about the other day. The English Defence League were going to have a march in September last year in Whitechapel to protest against Sharia law in Whitechapel. So I'd like to actually talk about Whitechapel, the Muslim population in Whitechapel, and is there Sharia law? So basically this is Whitechapel, Sharia law, myth or reality. So this is it. I think the EDL basically wasted their time coming to Whitechapel in a demonstration to save us all from the clutches of Sharia law, because there isn't any Sharia law, not as you would understand it anyway, in the Whitechapel area. I've lived in Whitechapel for about 15 years now, and I can sincerely assure you that there is no Sharia law in Whitechapel. But there is a very large Muslim population, which is absolutely and completely diverse, and you have people who go around in retro gear with beards and stuff they were wearing about 1,000 years ago, and they all look like a load of books. And basically, most of the kids from the Muslim background, whether they're Bangladeshi and Somalian, think that these people are idiots. And the people that hand out hate literature on the streets of Whitechapel, particularly outside the tube and particularly outside the main mosque, are not really from Whitechapel. They just come recruiting, stirring things up, giving out homophobic, misogynistic propaganda, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And most people that are what you might call formerly Muslims don't go along with it. As I say, the Muslim population is as varied as any other population. Although, of course, because they've got brown or black skins and they do dress a bit differently, and some of their women do wear scarves and so on, then people think that they're all monolithic, that they're all the same, that they all think the same, but they're just the same as us. I know, I've lived there for 15 years, and they've all got personalities, they've got foibles, some are nice, some are nasty. It's just the same, there's good and bad everywhere, and it's just the same in Whitechapel. But I can assure you that there is no reign of Sharia law in Whitechapel. I'm not a Muslim. Well, how can I be? I'm an anarchist. I can't believe in God. I'm against Islam. I'm not against people that are Muslims. I'm against Islam as I am against Christianity. I just think the whole idea is absurd. I don't believe in God. And one thing I've learned from living in the area is that Christianity and Islam are more or less identical. It's almost exactly the same. As for Sharia law, we have a few what you might call Sharia courts, which are not dealing with stoning women to death or amputations or anything like that, but deal with property disputes and things like marriage problems and things like that. A bit. Jewish people have the same thing, and various Christian churches have the same thing, and for people that are agnostics or other people, they've got a marriage guidance bureau and a citizens advice bureau and things like that. It's just the same sort of thing. They're not trying to enforce any kind of conformity on everybody else, and they're not trying to have a reign of terror. There are some idiots who would like to do this, and there are some idiots that blew themselves up in Aldgate East Tube a few years ago, as everybody remembers, an atrocity, an absolute, total, inexcusable atrocity. Very interesting as well that these idiots, these nutcases, these psychopaths, also blew up other Muslim people, and they also, none of them come from Whitechapel. Very interesting. It seems that most of the troublemakers that come in from Whitechapel to stir up the shit, whether they're the English Defence League or these nutcases They're all from outside the area. We seem to live quite harmoniously. Yeah, there is trouble. It's not as, it's really Whitechapel. It's an area there's a lot of gang warfare. There is a lot of abuse of women as well, just as there is in every other community. And there's stuff that is Islamic related. Women are harassed for not wearing headscarves when they work behind the counters in some shops. Girls are forced to wear not only headscarves but veils as well, and to go to schools where everybody is wearing a veil. And I find that quite objectionable. But you've got to look at the other side of it as well. A lot of these girls that are wearing veils, they're not timid creatures, they're just ordinary girls, just like anybody else. And they've got boyfriends and they smoke and they drink. I know, I live in the area, I see it all the time. It's all done in the back streets, on the side of building sites, in some of the sort of yuppie joints that they build, where they won't be seen. It's absolutely unrealistic and completely untrue to think that the Muslim population are all strictly observant and completely conformist to the ideas of Islam. It's like saying that most Christians believe in Leviticus chapter 20. Now, I've never read the Quran. I don't want to, it's just really boring. It's just my mind couldn't take it. It would be really boring. It would be like reading the I Ching, it would have no meaning for me. But I read a bit of the Bible, and in the Bible, particularly Leviticus, it's just like Sharia law, people being executed for sleeping with other people's husbands, for homosexuality, and so on. And our own culture, we used to do the same thing a few hundred years ago when we were under the, not Sharia law, but biblical law. People were burnt as witches and things like that. Women were had no status whatsoever. I mean, obviously, I'm not a Christian, so I'm not defending that. I'm not defending Sharia law. I'm an anarchist. I'm against law. We should be able to do our lives without recourse to the law. We should be able to sort out our own things. Thank you very much. But let me tell you about what it is actually like in Whitechapel. If you get off the tube, all that is, and walk down to, just say Whitechapel tube, just a few minutes walk, it's an area that's varied. It's still a working class area, a lot of it. There's lots of pubs. Just about every fourth or fifth building is a betting shop. Paddy Power, Ladbrokes, Coral, William Hill, Betfred, they're all there. And guess what? They're all full of Asian people gambling, just like we do. On the dogs, on the horses, on the football, watching the cricket, just like we do. And all the staff that are serving them, they're all from either, usually from a Muslim background themselves, so local people with local jobs. There's no objection there. We haven't got pickets outside the bookies or anything like that. There's loads of pubs. There's a really good pub right next to the mosque. There's loads of parties going on and everything. It's a vibrant area. It's very mixed. And Ramadan, yes, I've seen Ramadan, people walking around like zombies because they've been starving themselves. But on the day of Ramadan itself, I can tell you what the favourite drink of the Muslim businessman is after Ramadan has ceased, and they have the big knees up at the end. Johnny Walker, they really like their Johnny Walker, so they're all walking around doing their Johnny Walker. And all the kids, they all smoke spliffs and everything like that. And they drink, and as I said, there are some tragedies. There's a lot of gang warfare, very lot of gang warfare, and kids getting stabbed and things like that. But there is one thing about the so-called Islamic Caliphate of Whitechapel: we have very little gun crime. We don't get kids gunning each other down in the streets. Oh, sure, they're stabbing each other, they're booting each other's heads in and stuff like that. But they're not, good old East End fist and boot, and maybe the odd snooker cue. But they're not gunning each other down, which I think is good, if you like. And I'll say one thing to the EDL: that when they did threaten to march the first time through the area, it united all the gangs. They all come out united against them. Gang warfare was suspended for a few days, and then it went back to normal. But that's the effect that the EDL had. And also, when the EDL were on the fringes last time when they came out, it wasn't only Muslim people were out. There had a lot of people from the estate where I live, white people, were out as well. They just didn't want these people coming in to cause trouble. Because, yeah, you know, maybe the EDL could march through surrounded by thousands of riot police and there would have been like bloodshed on the streets. But we got to live there afterwards. You know, it doesn't do any good for our harmony. I can say that I've never been abused or attacked by Asian gangs or menaced by anybody. I've been offered drugs all the time, but it's what you get on the streets of London, isn't it? Well, I've been tapped up for money and stuff like that, but by white people. And there's another thing as well. There's a so-called Sharia law in Whitechapel. There's a hell of a lot of drunks around. In fact, there must be more drunks per square foot in that area of London than anywhere apart from the West End. And there's a lot of homelessness, a lot of derelict people that are completely lost, as it always has been in the East End. A lot of very poor people, and everybody's struggling to survive for their families, to get a roof over their head and stuff like that, you know, to stand up for themselves. And we don't want people coming in and stirring the shit up like that. Shit does need to be stirred up, but not about something like Sharia law. There are other things to stir up shit about. Now, as for the girls, you know, I've seen girls in with a veil on and everything, and they all wear headscarves, but I remember once, a couple of years ago, there was a march in Whitechapel for Sharia law. I didn't notice any local people on it. It was only a small march. It was quite weird. It was almost surreal, as they say. You had this march going down the street. It was dark, and everybody, all the other Asians in the area, all coming bleary-eyed out of the pubs, out of the bookies. All the girls were coming out with their tight jeans and their headscarves on and their makeup to see these strange Sharia law people marching down the street. I took one look at them and then went back to what they were doing. They went back to the boogies, back to the pubs, back into the coffee shops and back into wherever they were. These people are completely irrelevant. The Muslims don't want them. So, you know, there is no Sharia law. Well, there is a vibrant Muslim community which is completely divided politically, religiously, and so on. There are a lot of people with really sort of regressive ideas. You get that in every community. So yeah, I mean, I'll give you the reality of it. That's the way I see it. And I've had many rows with people about religion on the streets, but no one's threatened to stab me. I've never been in any physical danger. They know what me and my friends are, and they know what we think and so on. And that's it. As I say, I haven't had any harassment. I do know women that have been sexually harassed on the streets by Asian youth. But that is just, they would be sexually harassed by white youth or black youth or youth anywhere, wherever they were, because that's what youth do. You know, there are antisocial and bad elements amongst youth. So let us not say that we got a Sharia law in Whitechapel or that we ever are going to have it. It's just a myth. Well, let's say to people from the EDL, come down and have a look, see for yourself. But don't come down in a demonstration with a whole load of bulldog t-shirts and so on. You're just going to get your head kicked in, right? Because people do not like it. They consider it to be an invasion. And every time your people have turned up, it's always ended up the same way. A few people get off the tube at Aldgate East, or they get off the tube at Whitechapel. The local people, black and white, Asian, come out against them. They have to be escorted out of the area by the police. They get slapped. I say, if you want to come into our area, come in, but come in properly. Have a look, go into the bookies, go into the pub, see for yourself. There is no Sharia law here, right? No Sharia law whatsoever. But we do have problems. But the problems are not what you think. As I said before, we've got to struggle to survive. We've got the gleaming towers of the City of London, where the average wage is over £2,000 a week. Massive bonuses being paid out. And on the other hand, the people working in the restaurants, the people sweeping up the streets, the people working in the shops, in the industries and so on, on minimal pay. We've got some of the poorest people in our borough, white and black and Asian, and we're all struggling, and it's getting more difficult. Difficult to send your kids to school, hospital, medical treatment, rents soaring through the roof. It's a real struggle to survive, you know. Rickets are coming back. Diseases haven't been seen since the Victorian age. People living in conditions that are absolutely indescribable. If you were to read Jack London and Victorian accounts, that's what it's going back to. And a big gap between the rich and the super rich and the poor. There doesn't seem to be anybody in the middle, really. It's just rich and poor. And we have been invaded, but it's not by immigrants. The East End is always Jewish, Huguenot, Bangladeshi, Somalians. It's always been like that. Irish, it's always been like the East End. Most white people, so-called white people from the East End, we've all got a bit of Irish or Jewish in us as well. And a lot of us, we've got like black people in our families now, and Asian people in our families. We're very mixed up. Yes, there is race hatred. I'm not going to deny that. And it's not just one side as well. But it's a thing of decreasing importance. It used to be murder on the streets in the 1970s and 80s, but thankfully that's gone away. It's been replaced by a lot of gang warfare and everything, but I think that's better than race war. With gangs, it's just a thing that people usually go through anyway. Anybody from the East End will tell you most people have been in a gang. You talk to your grandfathers, they probably would have been in a gang. I don't like the way the women are treated, that's very true. And there are a lot of objectionable things there. And there are within the community a lot of things that we don't know about, sexual abuse and so on. But it's the same in every community. It's not to excuse it. We've got to fight against these things. We can't fight against these things by going to the police, or if we've got to deal, the communities have got to deal with them themselves. I've just been reading in the paper about the terrible events of what's been going on in Rochdale, Greater Manchester. It was absolutely disgusting, and there's no excuse for that sort of thing whatsoever. But there has been some play made that these people were all Asian. Yeah, they were all Asian, or most of them. Some of them were Afghani, I believe. But there's no excuse for what they've done. Not only have they destroyed and wrecked the lives of these girls, they've destroyed and wrecked the lives of their own families, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. But that's not specifically because it's Asian, because it's Muslim. We've got this thing going on throughout society. There's a sickness in society, internet grooming. Even the police said about 90%, 85% of the nonces, and that's what they are, in that area are white. It's not a thing that's white or black or Asian, it's just something that's absolutely disgusting, and there's no excuse for it. I'm not here to say that the only victims in this are the families of the perpetrators, and of course the girls that not only had gave the police all the information, the police choose not to act on it, but also these girls, these people, these victims of abuse have received, as far as I know, absolutely no support whatsoever. They've been left in exactly the same position that they were. Anyway, I've kind of deviated from talking about Sharia law, so-called, in Whitechapel. If there was Sharia law in Whitechapel, these people, if they were tried before a Sharia court, if we had real Sharia law in Whitechapel, as people like this, they would probably end up getting executed on a Friday afternoon in the local park, getting their heads cut off. And I'm quite sure a lot of people listening to me now probably say it fucking serves them right. And I'd say serves them right as well. I wouldn't be, even though I'm against capital punishment. I'm against capital punishment because I don't think that the state should have the right of life or death over the individual. But if we had a Sharia court and these people had their heads cut off, then I wouldn't be sort of outside the park on my knees praying with nuns for the repose of their souls or anything like that. Well, neither would I be selling souvenirs or anything like that. But I don't think that we'd be shedding any tears for them and anything. And the fact that these abusers in Rochdale have gone to jail, I mean, I don't want to say what I personally think about it. It's not very anarchist, to sort of, maybe they should have had their nuts chopped off or something. Who knows, right? But I wouldn't have mollycoddled them. I wouldn't have victims. The victims are their families, and the victims most particularly are the girls, and they were failed by the authorities. So that's all I want to say about that. There's one other thing I'd like to say. The area around Whitechapel and Aldgate, where I live, is changing rapidly for the worst. For the worst, when I say the worst, I mean the worst for people like me and most of the working class, poor Bangladeshi, African, West Indian and white working class people that live on the council estates and in social housing is getting more and more difficult for us to survive. Our standard of living is deteriorating, our rents are going up. We've seen people now beginning to live in sheds and so on, whilst at the same time, thousands and thousands of luxury flats are being built. So yeah, Mr. and Mrs. EDL, you get off the tube at Aldgate East and you have a look at what's being built. 7.5 acre development of luxury flats, more luxury flats. Thousands and thousands of luxury flats have been built for the rich and the super rich, and they're moving in. And these are people that have got like flats in New York and Tokyo and all over. It's international yuppies. We've got British yuppies, we've got American yuppies, we've got Chinese yuppies. And these people now dominate places like Lehman Street and those areas at night. I'm telling you, it's getting so bad, right? You don't even hear Bangladeshi spoken anymore. That's how bad it is, right? Never mind Cockney. You've got toffs, you've got like Yanks, you've got people with posh accents, 200 quid hairdos, 500 quid heels, driving around in stretch limos, coked out of their heads. We're being pushed out of the area for these rich bastards. That's what you should be objecting about. That's what you should be. The East End is being destroyed, not by Muslims, not by Muslim fundamentalism, but by the rich. All those flats that have been built, we've got 20,000 plus people on the waiting list. They've built over 20,000 flats in the immediate vicinity. We've got nothing. We can't get anything out of it at all. We don't even get the jobs. We haven't even got jobs to clean the flats up or anything. It's all done with outside labour, outside contract. So there's no what you might call trickle down effect. The only effect that we've got is more police harassment of the dossers, the poor people, the kids and so on. And they lead up to the Olympics. It's going to be a total nightmare living around that area. The police everywhere, harassment, stop and search. You won't be able to cross certain roads because of VIP traffic. These are the things you should be objecting about, not Sharia. Sharia law's completely irrelevant, mate. Completely irrelevant. So anyway, I've said all I have to say about it. I could sit here for hours and end and talk about it, but that's the reality of what it's like to live in Whitechapel. And I hope to, I talk for over 20 minutes now, and I hope to talk about other subjects that may be of interest to you at any time throughout the year. And I hope for some feedback. I know you know my face now, right? And of course, if you want to give me a slap on the streets, you're welcome to. But then again, I will defend myself. But why not come up and talk to me, like, you know? Remember, I'm just an ordinary geezer. I haven't, like, you know, I'm not partial or anything like that. I'm very sceptical. I might be an anarchist, but I don't go along with the anarchist scene at all. I believe in revolution. I think what we need in this country is a revolution. So let's all get together and have one. And stop talking about race wars and Sharia wars. Let's have a good old-fashioned class war. Goodbye.